Fine. Hi, how are you? Fine, thank you. My name is Ravi. Pleasure to meet you. I'm just thinking, sorry,
Basically, in my house. Okay, good evening, everyone. How's it? My name is Chris, and I'll be your MC for tonight. It's actually weird. I wanted some entrance music as I walked through here, and I was like, just get some 50 Cent going, because that's my jam. But then Kusha was like, nah, dude, it's not a party here. This is a serious occasion. This is a serious event. Yeah? But yeah, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the Strat team for gracing me with the opportunity to MC tonight. I normally charge 100K to make an appearance at these events. But I told my agent, listen, this is Strat. I love this course. I'm not trying to charge anyone for this tonight, so yeah. If you want to take pictures with me at the end, just line up outside. 2 pictures max only, yeah? Sweet. Everyone's looking really, really sharp tonight. Kennedy the boy, I see you. Apparently the bus was late coming here, yeah? Because homeboy was getting a haircut in Mowbray. So we had to wait an hour just for Kennedy to start this event. But it's alright, African time is a thing after all, so yeah, let's don't worry about this. I love you, Kenny. But on a serious note, it's really great to be here. I'm the tutor of the all. Second time at Bazaars for Fox's Dead. I was privileged to come here last year, although I didn't present. And it was a really great experience just seeing all the groups and just the vibe and taking a moment just to realize that you're in a room with game changers. and the future faces of tomorrow. And I think you guys should give yourselves a round of applause because I back you all. I was just speaking to Jonathan, the Mazars head of the Mazars Project Part 2. And we spoke about the fact that things have changed from last year to now. And they challenged you guys with a specific topic, which was around waste management, of course. And I was a bit fearful about what would be the outcome of these projects because it's so specialized and we had the opportunity to talk about or to present plans that are very open. But it's really amazing to see that you guys took the challenge to heart. And I had the privilege of consulting with all the winning groups this week. And it was amazing to see the quality of work that popped out. So I'm really, really proud of all of you guys. And once again, you deserve a round of applause for everything that you did. Regards to the class of 2018. Yeah. Okay. So I just want to present all the judges, the guest judges for tonight. As some of you may or may not know, the people that marked your projects were actually Mazars consultants. But today we have the privilege of having 3 guest panel judges tonight to judge you guys. So this is a completely fresh outlook on the projects that are being presented today, or the business plans rather. So first of all, I want to welcome Jessica Knight. Jessica is the outgoing CEO of UCS Solutions and was previously a principal at McKinsey. She worked at McKinsey in London prior to moving to Johannesburg office, and her work covered retail, media, and commerce. She also holds a MA from the University of Cambridge. Second guest judge for tonight is Portia Zilwa. Portia is the Western and Northern Cape Provincial Manager for the Masisizane Fund of Old Mutual SA. Prior to this, she was the Enterprise Development Manager for the Anglo-American Sebenza Fund, which provided funding to new and existing sustainable businesses. Portia has also been a selection panelist for the National Gazelles Program under the Ministry of Small Business Development. And the last guest judge for tonight is Jean Vessels. Jean is CASA and partner at Mazars. She heads up the recently launched Business Sustainability Consulting service line within Mazars. She is also a specialist in the renewable energy sector team in Cape Town and serves as the chairperson of the Cape Town Employment Equity Forum. So it's really great to have you guys in attendance tonight. We look forward to the feedback you give the students tonight. I'm sure it'll be much appreciated. And just one more thing on my side. It's really important that you guys take the knowledge that you gained tonight and the knowledge that you've gained throughout this year and use it going forward. One thing I told my tatlings at the beginning of this year is strategic thinking is a great course because it provides a platform to shift away from the structured and rule-based way of thinking and move into a position where you think both innovatively and critically. So I hope that you take this to heart tonight and you use it going forward because we are the game changers and we are the future faces of tomorrow. Great. So I'd like to call up Alison Meadows. She's a course convener and she just wanted to say a nice welcome beforehand.
You don't need a mic when you're used to teaching in great privilege to be here with you all and sort of thinking strategically. I'm going to start off thanking Mazars for having us and Jonathan, the partnership with you guys over the years has been incredible. And I think that this particular project is something that just finishes off the 4th year of the business science for me in a really beautiful way. So thank you for hosting us and for everything that you've done. I also, of course, need to thank our guest judges. I know our time is so precious, and for you guys to come tonight, it means so much to the students, and thank you very much. And to you, Andrew, also busy people, all of you. So for your time tonight, thank you very much. I won't be long, but this is my only little platform, so I'm going to use it. I was at a meeting at the Universities of South Africa thing in Pretoria a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about graduates and graduate attributes. and what the critical sort of defining attributes for success are going to be. There are 3. And I like to think that we really push those things through this project. Creativity is one of them. Because, I mean, you know, we're all sort of dinosaurs. In 20 years' time, I'm not going to be eligible to work anywhere because we're sort of dying out. It's you lot that are going to be in careers and jobs that haven't even been thought of. You're going to need to be creative thinkers. You're going to need to be resilient. Because that whole notion of a career ladder just doesn't exist. You're going to start one thing, move sideways, go up, maybe hopefully around sideways, possibly backwards. You're going to be doing a whole load of different things, working with different people. You guys are going to need to be strong and resilient. And then the last one, which is also critical, this is not to say that these are the only 3, but these are the most important 3, is your resourcefulness. And, you know, I don't know if any of you have ever seen Kushli afraid of anything or sort of disagreeing with you, but not quite sure how to. And earlier on this year, I said, we're going to do waste. We're going to do waste this year. We're going to tackle a real problem. And I'm going to narrow the brief. And I think it's the best thing we could have done. Because you had such a sort of a narrow area to work in. But you've come up with the most astonishing ideas. And you've also tackled a real problem that's not just a South African problem, but a global problem. And I love the fact that not only have you, some of you have been recycling stuff, but you've also been able to turn that recycled material into building material. So there's like a double benefit. So the work that you've done, and all of the other students, and you know there are 520 students in this class. I mean, we've got 84 astonishing little ideas. I think you've done an amazing job, and I'm incredibly proud, actually, to be associated with the course and so on. And the team that you guys have worked really closely with this year, Kushli, Chris, all of the beautiful tutors and mentors. Really, I think you need to thank them because they have really sort of held it together. Students, now would be the time to So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've done tonight, and we'll sort of have a really interesting conversation, I think, tomorrow, because I'm looking forward to seeing what the guest judges think. Anyway, guys, have a wonderful time, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ali. Okay, so the format for tonight, there are 5 groups presenting. The presentations will be 5 minutes, and then there will be a Q&A round, which is also 5 minutes. We will give preference to the panelists of judges to ask questions first, and then we'll turn that to the audience to then ask questions too. So please feel free to, first of all, pay attention to what they're saying so you can answer or ask solid questions. And yeah, really engage with the groups tonight because they're really some awesome ideas. So yeah, without further ado, we'll call up C10, which is the first group to present.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be presenting to you our startup company, Sigurdsson. So in the world currently, 6.5 trillion cigarettes are sold per annum, with that figure growing around about 8% per annum. And while we realize that we can't reduce the amount of smokers in the world, we realize that we can reduce the amount of waste. Cigarette waste has huge negative effects on the environment as a whole. Many animals mistake it as food, as well as it degrades the ecosystem as a whole. In South Africa, there are currently very few solutions for processing cigarette waste, with many hotels and other companies just throwing it into general waste to go into landfills. Our business model is to take the cigarette waste and make it into a substance called cellulose acetate, which then can be used as an input for manufacturing companies that can be used to make household items such as sunglasses, plastic pipes, etc. And I'll be passing over to Mike, who will discuss the inputs to our process as well as how we're going to go about processing.
Okay. So I think, sort of from the get-go, we made the assumption that we hope the smoking behavior in the country doesn't change. So we kind of hope people keep, sort of employing a very dirty habit, because this is going to help us sort of do what we have to do. But I think in line with that, we kept the basic principle of our company fairly simple. There's an input, process, output model that allows us to sort of deal with the variables inside of them a lot easier than sort of an application or something that we don't even understand. And so I think I'm just going to break down the key factors that we considered under sort of each one of those elements and, sort of discuss how we sort of came about them to see why they were important factors. In terms of the inputs, the main thing is the collection of the waste. The way we sort of factor that is to sort of engage into contracts with suppliers that will allow us to sort of gain a steady flow of waste on a reliable basis. I think of, as a secondary measure, having our own bins and placing that at areas that would allow us to put them, that would sort of be a secondary measure, but those contracts are going to be essential for our supply, and I'll sort of mention why that's an issue later. Moving on to the process part of this thing, those are really our key elements. The machinery, the cleaning of the waste, the grading of the waste, and the scale of production. The method in which we're going to sort of turn the waste from cigarettes into that pelletized plastic form is by using an extrusion machine, and sort of the initial funding that we're going to get is going to be used to sort of fund that sort of very early capital intensive sort of process. Then we have to grade and clean the waste. Some people smoke weirdly differently to other people and very aggressively to other people, and so not every cigarette you get is going to be able to be put into the extrusion machine itself. So once that grading process is done, we then actually want to clean it with a sulfuric acid solution to make sure that it's not, disgusting and like something that people can't use, and then basically that will then get filtered into the extrusion machine and then be produced into these pellets that we're going to then sell on a large scale. Just a last point, the scale is incredibly important. If the main issue we dealt with in this process was getting the supply and demand correct. We can do that with dual contracts, like if you have contracts with suppliers and people who buy it, and you can sort of match those two quantities, then essentially the business should work. If those things don't work, and we had a lot of issues around that, it becomes sort of nasty when people want a ton worth of cigarette waste and we can only provide them with, say, 50 kgs worth of stuff. It sort of leaves us in a difficult position, and I think that's probably the main consideration taken forward. But I'm going to leave over to Holly to sort of explain the final output part of the process.
So our customers buying the cellulose acetate pellets are those who have the same concern for preserving the environment in which we wish to. We will target manufacturers who use the pellets in production. We have secured a client, Steel and Pipes for Africa, who require these pellets in the production of industrial piping. They have said to us that they require 100 tons of pellets per month. In our first year of operations, we are able to produce 1.5 tons. However, in year 2, we'll be able to produce an excess of a ton per month on top of that. So in keeping with our vision in mind and clear, we hope to make a lasting effort as a firm with the premise of making an environmental impact and providing a better South African landscape for future generations.
And as the team of Cycle, we would like to extend a thank you not only to Carl Thorson, who consulted with us at Lazars, but also Max, who helped solidify our idea. And should we get the funding, we're going to be using it to research this idea further, as there are many kinks to work out, but we believe that we have the base covered. And should you have any questions, we'll be around. Yeah, thanks so much.
Okay, I'll now turn over to the panelists of judges. If you have any questions, and then I'll answer.
This is the rest of the team. Interesting idea. I think for me, one of the things that I think maybe can be highlighted more, I don't know what the job creation aspect would be of the project that didn't come out a lot in your presentation. And there is a social impact, definitely, in terms of the environmental aspect, but you're not saying much about how are you going to impact communities in terms of job creation. I don't know if it is a labor-intensive type of a model, or will there be jobs in the different steps that we have in the production process?
Yes, it's a mixture between the two. We're going to use the machinery for when it comes to changing it from cigarette waste to plastic pallets, but then as well we'll need labor to work those machines. But due to the fact that we're a startup company, we won't be able to hire as many people as we would like to. But as we carry on with the production, we will increase.
Adding to that point, we budgeted 3 employees in the first year, but also with the process that we're doing, we realized that they're going to be dealing with very hazardous materials. So it's obviously very expensive because we would like to protect our employees. So we're slowly improving. So we've got 3 in the first year and improving by having 1 extra employee each year.
Okay. So I've got 2 questions. I mean, I think it's amazing. I mean, well done. It's a radical and very productive and thoughtful concept. So the 2 questions I've got are: to what extent do you understand how you manage to get a handle on sort of the commercial aspects? Because one of the challenges with sustainability and sustainable projects is actually making sure that you're getting obviously the environmental return, but you're also actually able to sustain commercial model. You touched on it a little bit at the end, but I'm just interested in any thoughts you've got on that, and then I'm going to follow up with you.
Okay, with the financial aspect, we were able to get a supplier which is Mexicans. They'll be supplying us with a kg at 20 rand, and we'll be selling at 60 rand. So that will mean that in the first year we will be making a loss due to the startup and everything, but in the second year we expect to be making profits afterwards.
And do you have a sense of what the upfront investment to get the asset?
We talked to a few investors, potential investors, and we will be able to get about 240,000 rands at the startup from the likes of Aspen, Invictus, and our hotel group that were willing to sponsor us.
Is that the total magnitude of the investment that we need to own that what's available?
So far, that's what's available to us. We'd also be willing to go to the government, because I heard when we went to banks, they don't want to start up companies. But from what I've heard, they said that we could go to the government to find out more information in terms of funding for startup companies.
How much do you need in total?
In total, we need about 350 to 400,000.
And can I just ask a quick related question? Because one of the things we talked about the importance of scaling, and obviously that's a familiar theme in early stage businesses. Does the product have a shelf life? So if you don't scale as quickly as you would like, are you at risk of actually producing those so it might then go to waste, or are you able to then kind of ride through that, because it's got a sufficiently long shelf life?
It has a very significant long shelf life because it's using the production of plastic pipes.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. Like in Africa, we are currently constructing a lot of building, piping, and all this type of aspects. So the company that we did email and talk to, they produce plastic pipes. So we will be selling to them, and we will be looking at other customers that we could.
And I think also the reason the degradation process for cigarette takes 5 to 10 years is because of that plastic number.
Yeah.
So it's not something that's sort of, it's organic, but it's not something that'll, sort of waste away.
Yeah.
And also in the first few years, we don't have a problem. We have demand that way outstrips our supply.
Yeah.
Because we've got 100 tons per month and we can only produce 1,500 kilos realistically in the first year.
Just in terms of the commercial aspect you mentioned, I think what's nice is a lot of our clients, or the one client we got, has a monthly need for this. So it's not a contract that like you have in June and that's sort of all of your cash. It's a constant flow of cash flows that you can sort of get. It's just getting what we can supply them with what they actually want, getting those numbers right. Yeah.
And in terms of competitors, I don't hear anything there, but what's the same industry?
Currently in South Africa, there's no one that's actually doing this whole process of recycling. There's only one company that in America that's doing the whole recycling process, but it seems like they're not expanding.
And there are companies like our supplier Maxibins who actually, they collect cigarette waste at a mass level, but they actually sell it to medical companies and then it gets incinerated at an incinerator. And we just think that that's sort of very wasteful actually if there is, a commercial profit-making element to it.
I think it's a great idea, guys. I've never thought about cigarette waste the way that you've looked at it, so I think it's really phenomenal. My question would be, how easy is it to enter the market for competitors? Have you thought about how you would protect yourselves against that? And also the process, is it highly, do you need expertise for this process and how environmental friendly?
Okay, going back. So the first, can you repeat your first question? Sorry.
So have you analyzed the market
Okay,
to
yeah.
see how easy is it to access the
Yeah,
market?
so that was our big thing. So we know that competitors can enter, but it's very capital intensive, as we mentioned up front, as well as the fact that we secured Maxibins. We did call the likes of Canal and Cavendish and said, would it be possible for us to just place bins outside your shopping centres? And they actually had no clue. They said, no, you can't do it. And Maxibins are the people that hold the contracts for that. So if we can get them as a main supplier, our competitors won't be able to have a supplier for that process at all.
And on the patents website, it isn't patented yet. So if we can maybe get a license to actually sort of trademark the process, or at least the quality of our product above someone else, then maybe that's something we can consider along the way.
And how environmentally friendly is your process to manufacture? Do you have any strange gases or anything from the process? Or is it quite
Yeah, so nothing that from what we've looked in, and as we said, we're going to research those hints, but it doesn't produce any huge bad effects on the environment. Even the chemical that we use, as I understand, it can be disposed of environmentally friendly. So there's nothing too drastic on the environment at all.
If anything, it might be just intensive on utilities, electricity costs, water costs. But in terms of sort of harmful elements to it, most of the stuff is going to go into industrial pipes, and I don't think they would buy it from us if they knew that it was going to be harmful to their business.
And if you considered approaching corporates, there's this whole idea now that you have smoking areas where you can put your bins there where there's people are sitting and smoking.
So we've approached the hotel group. We realized that hotels have lots of foot traffic, and when we phoned them, they said that they just throw it in general waste. And they said that they would be more than willing for us to place our bins outside their hotels when people go to the smoking section of the hotel. And they would also be willing to give any cigarettes from conventions, etc., that they may have by placing our bins at those
And
respective.
bigger corporates like Cold Shop.
Yeah, so
we've got a big building with
Yeah.
an area where people just smoke. And I don't think there's any designated bins, or they just use normal bins.
Yeah, that's something that we'd definitely be looking into, getting more people to supply
So
The thing is, the more cigarettes we can get, the better actually, because of the fact that the supply is currently.
So the more people smoke, the better for you.
yeah, thank you guys.
Next group up is A.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Currently in Cape Town, there are over 500 fast food outlets, each of which consuming over 1,000 liters of cooking oil per year. With no clear guideline regulations, nor a secondary use for this oil, this valuable resource is currently being wastefully disposed of. In disposing of this oil, it not only damages the fast food outlets, drainage systems, but can also cause harmful damage to the environment. Therefore, tonight I'd like to introduce you to BioSoap. Through market research and engaging with these fast food outlets, we have established that we can acquire this used oil at a mere 10 cents per litre, put through a basic chemical process in order to produce a low-cost glycerol-based soap. The benefits of this business model are not only for the environment in reducing the amount of waste in the fast food industry, it also provides a service to the fast food outlets in providing them with an effective way to dispose of the used oil. Lastly, it provides us with a low-cost input in our production process. Without boring you with the exact details of the chemical process, essentially we are taking this used cooking oil and combining it with two over-the-counter chemicals, namely methanol and caustic soda, in a large steel drum, thereafter heating it in order to create two compounds, namely glycerol, which will form the base of our soap, as well as unrefined biodiesel. This glycerol substance will then be combined with various fragrance oils before being poured into large 2-litre molds. The entire production process takes roughly 2.5 hours to be completed, and once this process is done, it can be distributed to our consumers.
Our sales and distribution plan is pretty simple. We have identified the low-income earners as our target market. The majority of the retail that happens in this market happens through spaza shops, and therefore we'd like to sell these big 2 kg blocks to these spaza shops, where they're able to divide them up into smaller blocks and sell that to the end consumer. So the benefit of the soap, as Mark said, is that it has got a glycerol base, and this is what forms our advantage over our competitors. Glycerol has many proven health benefits. Not only is it good for the user's skin, it also has many healing attributes, such as healing skin sores and rashes, such as ringworm. Also, in terms of functionality, and in line with our competitors, this soap can not only be used for body washing, but also washing clothes, which is an important purchasing consideration made by low-income earners when purchasing soap. And most importantly is the fact of our cost benefits. So our cost, currently our competitors are selling the soap for 150 Rand for 2 kg bar, whereas we're looking to price our soap at 99 Rand. That allows the spaza shops to add a reasonable markup, and at the same time we are still the cheapest soap in the market. However, the informal sector where we are focusing our energies make up 18% of the GDP, but so little is known about them. The one thing that we do know is that these people are extremely brand loyal. So how does one go about entering this market and penetrating this market? So our strategy is simply to have promotions at key spaza shops in the community where we'll hand out samples and explain the key health benefits of the soap to the individuals. And we are confident that once they've tried the soap with themselves, they would have experienced its health benefits and they'll come back wanting to purchase the soap. Therefore, we'll start off selling the soap slowly to the spaza shops, and once they see that there's a demand for the product, we'll start to increase the size of our contracts. So this is where the foxes come in. For this process, for this process, we're going to be looking to the funding that we'll need is going to be to address our challenge, which is that of market penetration. So what we've talked about is these initial promotions
as well as in-store advertising at the smaller shops. We also need roughly 10,000 Rand for setup costs, which is surprisingly low considering the profitability of our company. We are extremely confident in our product and its ability to penetrate the market, as well as our team. We think we have the necessary skills, expertise, as well as contacts to take this business to the next level. And we are confident that we're going to see BioSoap wash away the competition in the near future.
I think I must commend you on the marketing plan. At least you've got a clear idea of how you want to take it from that into the market. On that, I just want to know, have you researched in terms of, I mean, you are mentioning that the type of clientele you're looking at is quite brand loyal. So if you've done a competitive study in terms of what is there in the market and how your product compares to what is in the market currently.
Okay, thank you for your question. So we're going about this process of market penetration. It's actually this program into three folds. So the first one is what category is in the market. So the problem which we're facing is 4 challenges regarding penetration and then actually how we advertise product. So the first one is that the lack of quality packaging, which we have, which links to having barcodes on each soap as well. So this kind of we wouldn't be able to compete in brands such as Pick and Pay and Checkers as these basic requirements of the product. Then because we're going to be a startup business, we would have insufficient advertising budget. And the final part is that the volume requirement of these stores in our first year, actually within the first 3 years, we wouldn't be able to meet these volume requirements. So that's how we kind of narrowed down to instead of the formal sectors, approaching the informal. So when deciding on, and this actually on the questions I want to this one, and that's to do with how do these shops work. So on our research, we found that the best way to work with smaller shops is to directly contact the owners. Because how these shops work is that they have quite small shops. They don't buy in bulk. So even though you might get bulk discounts, they usually tend to not take these offers because they have small shops which is from their houses. So part of how they purchase is that when you have direct contact with them, the way that they purchase this stock is that they have what is known as runners. So runners are people they give a list to, and these people go to the shops and purchase the items for the store. So the thing about runners is that they aren't allowed to deviate from the list. So advertising within stores, it's a futile attempt because these runners, even if they see a new product, they can't deviate from the list because the shop owners. So how we go about approaching the shop owners directly and forming the relationship. And there's a due benefit of educating them about our product, firstly. And the second is making a distribution channel.
I wanted to, I mean, for instance, I'll just give one brand, if that's okay.
Say more.
Sunlight.
Oh, okay.
Sunlight soap. I mean, that you wash with it and you also use it to wash clothes. So have you done a competitive study? Because remember, if you're saying somebody is brand loyal, you need to let them know what is it that I'm bringing with this and the soap that is unique, you know, which this one doesn't provide to you. So I think maybe even if you don't have the answer now, it's something that you need to really consider because that's what you need, how you need to sell your product and penetrate that.
I can just jump in there. So as mentioned, the main thing which differentiates us from the other soaps that uses salt and a fatty acid is we're looking at the citric soda and the oils. So that means that we're working with the glycerol base in comparison to the other soaps which are working with salt base. And the glycerol base is what gives the healing benefits and the health benefits and it's really good for the skin compared to other soaps, such as Sunlight, the big blocks of Sunlight. It's amazing. It only has really washing qualities and sense of fragrances. So on all levels, we feel our soap competes with that, except that we have these added health benefits at a cheaper price.
I'm happy you've really understood the startup shop concept and how to really do business. You need to be there with them. Yeah.
Gosh, yeah, great concept. I've also spent a bit of time in scholarship shops and in retail. I think one of the challenges that I'd be interested to get your thoughts on is distribution. So, you know, it's great to say that you have a personal touch point with as far as the owner and, you know, that gets you listed in the store. They're obviously quite constrained in space, so typically it's a kind of one in, one out model. So you have to be, you know, it's a really, you need to make a strong case. But then once they express that interest, how do you then sustain that in terms of ongoing distribution? Because they will need not you know, regular intra-weekly fulfillment. So they'll need, you know, not just a dump of a month's stock, but they'll actually, they don't have the space to carry the stock. So how would you think about that? And have you factored that into your pricing model with your 99
So the way that we have that, we have factored in some pricing model. So in general, we looked at a factory area of Para and we did the whole comparison to the main townships. And we looked at the average price of trips and stuff with our petrol, and we have factored that into our price. In terms of distribution, so yeah, as you say, we're going to need to be doing regular trips. But the one thing that is nice about sponsor shops is that they're quite conveniently located close together. So if we do insert trips, we look to time that with the whole shops, we'll do all the shops in one area. We'll do a certain round, they know we're coming on a Wednesday. We're going to drop off the soap. Then if they need another time, they can get hold of us. But due to the informalities, we can't guarantee that we can be there every single time. But if we have a separate team going, we understand their demand at the shop, how fast they're going. Once we've got into these shops and start learning about it, we'll get a bigger understanding of how quickly these are going to be going in different areas, what the keys as far as
Yeah. And do you have national ambitions, or is this just a Cape Town story?
So we looked at the next 3 years. We generated our figures of about 200,000 households, which is a research figure, and we looked at getting about initially like a 2.5 engines instead of our first year and growing from there, which means it's very minor. But going forward, we definitely are looking into international other things that we have looked into. So clinics or hospitals due to this healing power as well as like lower class hotels accommodation, because it's not a premium soap, it's for lower class soap. That's where we'd like to go. That's like our general scope in the long term. So.
Good marketing skills.
Yes.
How have you thought about funding your overheads? So as you're ramping up, as you get your production going, your sales going, in the initial couple of months, how are you planning to fund your rental, your salaries, your management, the overheads?
We're looking forward to getting funds from outside if possible, but if not, we are also looking into taking out debt in order to fund the operations. But the best way to get funding is from resources. Cost effective.
So I can just add that. So, like I said when I was chatting, it's a really low initial setup cost, extremely low for the operations. And we are completely determining how much we supply depending on the demand. So the supply of the oil is basically to us, it's unlimited right now. There's so much oil out there, that's not limiting us at all. It all depends on how much our demand is. So basically we're seeing it from more demands come in, the more profits are coming up. That's how we're going to be able to ramp up our overheads, ramp up our operations to scale up.
And the packaging, we want to do it entirely. We want to outsource the packaging pattern soap.
So the packaging, we're looking at a wax paper in comparison to plastic paper, and just a sticker with bio soap on top. We're going to look to just acquire the wax paper and wrap it ourselves. Put a sticker on, very low cost to minimize costs.
Does it need any certification in terms of SOPs or ISO or whatever, the soap itself? Because I mean, some products don't use on people's skin. So we might need some testing just to approve it.
It definitely will. To be honest, I cannot tell you the exact quorum which we're actually at the moment.
Good idea, guys. I'm curious to know which of you is the chemist.
Yes.
I have some concerns. I'm kind of figuring by the time fast food outlets ready to sell their oil at 10 cents a litre, they have absolutely put it through starts to smell like chicken thighs and everything else. So how assured are you that in this process you're going to remove all the contaminants that are in there, because there's some nasties and odors and all of these other things? Is that something which is easily done? And what is the waste element of that? Is that even thought through?
So in terms of waste, it's a zero waste process at the end of the day, in terms of harmful chemicals. And in terms of the oil itself, actually the more it gets used and the greasier it is, that's where you get your benefit. From a chemical point of view, none of us here are chemical engineers on that, but the way we are thinking about this, there is actually an operation in KwaZulu-Natal that's doing this on a very small scale, contacts which I have, and he has the expertise and knowledge of running the whole system. So we've been in conversation with him, we've been more in conversation and figuring out the exact way to go about it. He didn't even share out his trade secrets with us, but that would be something we'd do going forward with the exact chemical compounds and stuff like that.
There must be chicken and
Okay, next group up is C27.
Jessica, Jean, Portia, and I'd like to thank you guys for being here. Firstly, on behalf of UCT, more importantly, on behalf of Rawback. I'm going to ask you guys to do something. Trust me and follow my words. Without further ado, close your eyes. Visualize yourself on the beach, sand beneath your feet, your loved ones beside you. You can hear the waves in the background, birds singing, and you feel the wind blowing through your hair. In your left hand, you have a beverage. Might be a mojito, a margarita, maybe even an iced coffee, ice, all the way to the brim, and the straw sticking right up. As you reach up to take your first sip, a gush of wind blows the straw into the ocean. In that moment, you realize that you've just contributed to the 8 million tons of plastic polluting the ocean every year, killing millions and millions of our sea creatures. Open your eyes. In front of you, you have a beverage. Inside of it, you have the solution. Take a sip, please. Crowd, you should have gotten a straw by now. Everyone open it up? With me. Let's take a bite of it. A bite. Exactly. We are raw pack, biodegradable. Biodegradable and edible. Biodegradable. We focus on sustainability, on not only making it the better choice, but the easier and the cheaper choice.
Our straws come in 7 different flavors, at only 23 calories each. Now that is less than 3 pieces of broccoli. It is vegan and gluten-free, it has a 24-month shelf life, and it also lasts for up to 40 minutes in your drink. Now, we at Rawpack are more than just an alternative to the plastic straw. We are rethinking sustainability. We believe that the sustainable choice shouldn't feel like you're working for it, when it could be fun, when it could be an experience that anyone could look forward to. Now, there are other alternatives, such as the glass straw, the stainless steel straw, that you can carry around with you. But honestly, the novelty wears off once you realize that you actually have to carry it with you everywhere you go. And once you realize that, once you try to convince yourself that it's okay that I haven't washed this for about 2 weeks. But with Rawpack, we're all about the fun and none of the effort. It lets you make the sustainable choice without any of the work. And
Cool. So we will actually buy our product. We've divided our market into 4 main segments, namely bars and clubs, festivals, catering services, and bars. Just think, how many drinks and in turn straws can be sold at a happy cocktail hour in Camps Bay, at Long Street on a first Thursdays, in Claremont, Tinrick Boogies on a student night, or even at a festival as big as Rockin' the Daisies. Just think, the potential for straw sales are huge. This is all very good in theory, but do you actually have any interest in the product?
We've recently been in contact with Behemoth Youth, who are in charge of all the festivals in and around of Cape Town, as well as nightlife. And as such, they've got rid of their plastic straws because of the waste they cause, and are very keen to take on our eco-friendly solution. We have been talks with them as a possible partnership for the upcoming year to supply all their festivals.
We believe that if we can get the heart of Cape Town on board, the rest of the Cape Town market, and hopefully South Africa, will follow. We also think that the easiest market to penetrate would be the festivals and the nightclubs. And so we'll be using the 35,000 Rand if we win, as well as our potential partnership with Behemoth Youth. We'll use their platform to form a similar agreement with Howler Events, and then hopefully we'll be able to provide all the upcoming festivals and the holidays with our free sugar straws. Our goal here is that we're going to hope the festival goers are so excited to have a straw back and so enjoy the product that from January going forward, after our promotion period, we can get some solid contract, get some solid sales into action.
Okay, now I'm going to run you through the financials of the business. So we're going to sell our straw for 75 cents each, and it costs 24 cents to get the straw. That gives us a gross profit margin of 68%. We believe we can sell 25,000 boxes of straws in our first year due to the high interest we're seeing across our customer segment. We believe we can achieve a net profit margin of 38% and can further increase our margins by sourcing our product directly from our supplier and cutting out the middleman Alibaba completely. We are looking to break even in year one, as we need 14,000 boxes. We need to sell 14,000 boxes in order to break even. And as I said, we're expecting to sell 25,000. So it gives us a margin of safety of 44%, which is a lot of leeway to work with. The straw market currently has the following types of straw. As you can see, raw pack is extremely competitively priced compared to our direct edible straw, which price at 5 rand. We come in at a much more palatable 75 cents. The biggest competition in the market are paper straws. Now, we are a little more pricey than paper straws, but we believe our customers will be willing to pay a premium for our straw because we offer a socially conscious experience without the soggy taste of a wet paper straw anymore.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are biodegradable, raw pack straws. Thank you very much.
Can I ask about the Alibaba connection? Because that slipped in you. So are you actually sourcing the stores from Alibaba?
So our supplier is Sorbos and Alibaba is Sorbos. It's a Spanish supplier, S-O-R-B-O-S.
Yeah.
So we buy them via Alibaba just because Alibaba vets and authenticates the supplier. So it was just an initial middleman. But we've been in talks with Sorbos.
So is your 75 cents the ex-Alibaba price, or is it? Would you get a further cost reduction from sourcing directly?
It's the Alibaba price. You can get a lower cost.
Okay, so you could actually end up.
So the selling price actually 75 is 24 cents. The cost.
Okay, so you could actually end up cheaper than paper straws if you were able to source directly.
Exactly.
What have you modelled in your financials? Have you modeled the? Okay.
To do this try without the Alibaba.
Yeah, just to add on that, we're actually in contact with Sorbos right now, and we're trying to get the sole rights to sell these straws in South Africa right now.
Yeah.
But those negotiations are still running.
So yeah, because obviously exclusivity, I mean, this could that could make or break your business model.
No, I don't think it would make or break our business model because currently we started our business model running through Alibaba, and we're still very profitable using Alibaba.
Yes.
If this does go through, then we'll be even more profitable.
I don't mean that. I mean that if you become the sole supplier, if you could secure a sole distributorship for the product with the territory rights, then that could give you a lot more kind of competitive sustainability going forward. Is that something you?
We've already been on that process. We're in contact with them right now, and we're just trying to negotiate that, but we haven't got any concrete partnership.
Quite tough when you haven't got funding yet.
Exactly. It was awesome.
But just to add a little bit on that, so we also know this is like the Me Too market is a dangerous game to play in. But we believe our branding is what's going to define our place in the market. And going into festivals and making customers demand from businesses that they want our product, that gives us the edge.
Have you found any examples of branding of straws being successful in other markets? In other words, where you actually get customers requesting a brand?
It's more like an edible straw is our market.
Okay.
Yeah, but I understand.
You didn't explain what happens to the wrapper. Is this recyclable or completely?
It is. It's 100% recyclable.
And yeah, when it's biodegradable.
It's not edible though. Thank you very much.
Okay, any more questions? One more, yeah.
The customer actually going to buy why they have approached this more secretly. I know that's like
Well, like if we get, for the festivals, they could either because we'll hopefully be able to sell them at a low cost. It wouldn't be too much of an expense for the festivals or the clubs who are selling the straws to have to charge the customer per straw. Hopefully, they'll just be able to give the straws to the customers because it's 26 cents a straw or 75 cents if we sell it to them.
It's a business to business model, so we're selling to them.
Yeah, we'll sell it to the businesses, and if they want to give it to the customers when they walk through the door, when they buy a drink, sell them extra. It's up to them. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next group up is BO8.
So, good evening, judges and our guests. So, today we are here to tell you about our product. So, essentially, we are making citrus rolls made from orange peels, and that's coated with a natural resin from a lap bug, and this is called shellac. So, Father will be showing the judges the product. So, that's our small prototype after one attempt. So, you can interact with the product and pass it around if you must. Yeah. So essentially, our product is a biodegradable bowl, and we are targeting the packaging industry. So we plan to sell to the creamery and other eco-friendly stores that are in packaging of cold products such as ice cream, due to the fact that our product cannot be heated to a certain extent, and we're using a business-to-business model. So essentially, we're targeting the customers of our customers. So we're targeting the consumers in the market who are eco-friendly and are aware of the environment and aware of packaging problems in the country. So we also are a cash-based business because we don't want to take on any repayment risk at the moment. So therefore, we need cash flow to keep reinvesting into our business. So our product is essentially reducing waste in the landfill. So we are decreasing the amount of plastic bowls and the amount of polystyrene bowls in the market. Our product takes about 6 months to biodegrade, whereas polystyrene products take about 500 years to biodegrade. And our product, as I said before, can be frozen but not heated. Therefore, we have to go to the cold food industry. And after more research, we'll try to go into warmer foods after making sure that our product stays biodegradable and completely natural. So our process essentially is, so we'll get our peels from citrus hull from a company called ALG. They supply growers and other fruit juice companies with juice and leftover orange peels. So then from there, we would transport our peels to Atlantis. We will have our production facilities, and we'll have a freezer to store the peels until we start the production process. So the process starts with us putting the peels in water and baking soda to soften the peels. The next step would be to flatten the peel using a flattening tool, and then finally we brand the peels with the stamp of the company. And then we put it in a mold and put it in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes at 180 degrees. And our final step is just to put the resin on to protect the shape and also to prevent the taste seeping through into the product. So we are targeting the higher LSM, so essentially LSM 9 and 10. So they are the more environmentally friendly and they're more capable and more financially stable to afford our product. So we spoke to the creamery and they are super keen about our idea, as they are keen at the fact that we are able to give a branding offering. So currently they are using sugarcane bowls, which are also biodegradable, but they have no branding on them. and those bowls are 90 cents each, whereas our bowls are 180, which is double the cost. So the reason for our cost is obviously because of all our variable costs that we need to cover, but also our bowl is durable, reusable, biodegradable, and if you wash it with some cold water, you can reuse it at home for anything else.
So now looking at our competition. So our competition is polystyrene bowls, plastic bowls, cardboard, and our biggest competitor is these biodegradable sugarcane bowls. The reason that they are our biggest competitor is that they are microwavable and freezer friendly, whereas we said our bowls can only be frozen. They also degrade within 30 to 90 days, depending on if it's at a compost or a landfill, whereas our product takes 6 months. And the biodegradable sugarcane bowls also have no effect on the food flavor, which is the same as our bowls. But we have found that our process is less capital intensive than polystyrene production and our other competitors. And then if we look at people, so we will be hiring from the community of Atlantis, where only 29% of people have a matric. And we tend to empower our staff by bringing them on as business owners. And once the business has achieved sustainable profits in the long term, we plan to transform the business into a worker cooperative. And we also plan to motivate our employees through target-linked wage benefits and positive affirmations in the workplace. To quickly look at our profitability, so we have made an increasing profit for the first 5 years based on our assumptions. We will also break even in year 1. And we also receive a tax benefit as the Atlantis Special Economic Zone has a corporate tax rate of 15%, whereas the company tax rate is 28%. And our average return on equity on investment is around 16%. And then just to conclude and to look at our value proposition, so from a profit perspective, we are selling at a profit and effectively managing our costs. And we also plan to reinvest the profit for growth and to gain credibility for future financing in order to grow the business further. From a people aspect, we are creating job creation in a low income area. And from a planet perspective, as has been said, we are focusing on reducing the plastic waste that ends up in landfills. And so we'd just like to thank you for this opportunity and for listening to our idea. And we hope that you'll be able to give us the funding to pursue this idea.
How much capital do you need to start? Capital outlay?
So 200,000.
200,000.
Yeah, to meet the creamery's demand specifically.
That's for the molds, the oven,
Yes.
grinding machine.
Yes.
Everything
Fridge.
included in 200.
Yeah, everything. But key to make our trips from Citrusdale to Cape Town as well.
So did your 16% ROE calculation take account of the upfront capital costs?
It's 16.
16.
Yeah, 1/6.
Yes, 1/6. Yeah.
Yes, so it was only for the first 5 years. So obviously we decided at year 5 we're going to increase the business and grow the business, and from it we'll invest more capital. So we're assuming that for the first 5 years our machines will last, and because it's only like an oven and a rolling machine, that's essentially what we need. So we're going to get 2 of each so that we can meet the requirements of the creamery, and then we haven't done calculations about the year 5 as we want to see how things go, and we may restructure the business according to how the first 5 years go.
Question from my side, I mean, the sugarcane bowl sounds like a bit of a winner. If you look at some of the, so I don't know the first thing about it, but just as you explain some of the kind of comparative qualities of the 2 bowls, what do you think is really, and they're established. So what do you think, apart from obviously having thought about the creamery as this very, very specific route to market, how do you actually get to some sort of scale where you've got an incumbent product that has a slightly more diverse profile? How do you differentiate yourself and really start to build that?
So we're banking on the fact that we're very earthy looking. So we look biodegradable. We look like it's tangible. It's more tangible than sugarcane bowl. It looks quite similar to a normal cardboard box or something like that. And then also a lot of those bowls don't have branding. So that's a big factor that we're willing to put in for like making our products specific to our clients, and then also
I can add to that. So the sugarcane bowls, it was mentioned that they biodegrade or compost faster. So we did a bit more diving into that, and they compost fast, they do, but they don't biodegrade any slower in a landfill where it's a very different environment. The environment has less bacteria, it doesn't have the correct water and environment to biodegrade the same way that compost does. So it's competitive with regards to a landfill. And then with regards to its durability, I don't know if you've ever used one of the paper cardboard sugarcane bowls, sorry, not cardboard, sugarcane bowls, but they go very soggy and moist after about one use. And I mean, even halfway through your curry, it's like starting to dissolve onto the table. And you're kind of like, so we were trying to combat that as well. So ours is more robust, and it also has a marketing option with our stamping, and it is competitive in a landfill. So,
sorry, I let my just a little bit, but to be clear, you wouldn't be eating your curry out of the citrus peel.
No, it would be ice cream.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Specifically
cold curry. You said, I think when I was thinking about the sugarcane, you mentioned that your process will be less intensive. So how do you compare in terms of price? I don't know if I missed that somewhere to the sugarcane bowl. So would we be using highs as a competitive edge?
So the sugarcane bowl is 90 cents per unit, and our product is 180 per unit based on our assumptions at this point in time. So another thing is that you can use any citrus peel. So we've only looked at the orange peel aspect of it. So we think if you possibly go into the lemon route, that's possibly cheaper because orange peels are used for animals. So that's where the competition to source the product from comes. So we're going to look into the other citrus products and see which one is the cheapest in order to compete. And the reusability and our branding is what we are hounding on and really emphasizing to our customers. So our product can be reused again. So we could enforce the model where the customer brings their bowl back to the store, type of thing. But then we need to weigh the cost of, now we won't get per unit sales all the time, so we don't have fast rank sales. So we need to structure our business model in order to compete competitively. That's our main risk and problem.
I might have missed it, but have you been in discussions with the creamery?
Yes. Yeah.
So you got something
semi-firm commitment from them, and we've spoken to Baskin Robbins and Aachen as well, and they're also excited about the environmentally friendly aspect of it. But we also want to look into the smaller vegan markets and those type of places, because then we are growing other business while growing our own business as well.
They also gave us a number of around 15,000 bowls per month for willing to buy. So, yeah, just the cream.
Yes. And then we do also, just to add on that, we also do have contacts in the other places. So a lot of the vegan markets, we're very keen, and we know quite a few of the owners, and so we do have contacts to broaden our horizon.
Just looking at the size of the bowl.
That's very small.
I was thinking of like.
Yeah, I was just afraid of
Understandably, but it does obviously it would depend on the size of the citrus fruit that you have, right? So if I want to go to a creamery and have like a scoop special, how would I fit it into?
So what we did was, so we're going to soften all the peels. So we're going to like a big sheet of paper. So that's our plan. So we're going to sheet the peels into papers and then mold it into the shape that we want it to be. But obviously we need to get the chemistry right and the amount of heat and the amount of water, but we haven't been able to interact. Like literally that was me in the microwave.
Yeah, being dry.
So
the final bowl has a capacity around 170 milliliters, so a lot of ice cream.
And we have also prices.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yes.
Sorry, before I start, can everyone hear me at the back if I talk like this? Pardon?
She had a question.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Since the 1st of July 2018, all Johannesburg households have been required to recycle. Unbeknown to many people, only 10% of all waste generated in South Africa is recycled. It is estimated that 40 billion rand worth of resources could be fed back into the economy if 100% diversion of all recyclable material was to be recycled. And this outlines the opportunity for growth. Sandton, although not a household in the traditional sense of the word, houses some of the biggest corporations in South Africa. However, there is a current information gap with regards to the composition and volume of waste that comes through corporate South Africa. The facts are, our landfills are running out of space, there's widespread unemployment, and although people recycle, there's a lot of information and they're mostly unaware of what their waste actually comprises of and where it goes to. Recollect, a subsidiary of GN Lab, is an aggregated recycling ecosystem designed to help corporate South Africa, based in Sandton, with a data-driven approach to recycling. Gift Lubele, our founder, who was named top 20 under 30 entrepreneurs, who recently gave this presentation at Singularity Conference in Johannesburg. At Recollect, we believe in a world where trash is not only seen as treasure, but a resource that is able to uplift communities. Informal waste collectors have been largely excluded from the recycling process and the recent recycling schemes that have been uptaken by the Joburg community, and although they play such an integral role in the waste collection in South Africa. WeCollect seeks to, before I get there, see the waste collectors can be seen moving trolleys all across Johannesburg, and this is vital for their income and the way that they support their families. WeCollect seeks to employ the informal waste collectors by equipping them with bicycles that will be equipped with collection devices that will be able to collect the waste from corporates in South Africa. Our mission is to provide a data-driven, sustainable, and inclusive solution for the waste collection in corporate South Africa, whilst adhering to the triple bottom line approach, where we aim to create sustainable jobs for the informal waste collectors, create an environment where we can commoditize the waste data that we collect, and create and culture where we can recognize and build recycling in corporate South Africa.
However, we aren't just dreamers. In line with lean startup theory, we've developed a pilot plan. Our pilot plan will essentially test the fundamental elements within our ecosystem. This set pilot is due to start operating on the 1st of April 2018, and I will now detail the various elements within this pilot. First of all, the corporate. We have had meetings with Investec Sustainability Committee, and they've agreed to pilot with us. Basically, what this agreement entails is that we'll collect waste from Investec's head office in Sandton and deliver it to a waste collection centre around the corner. Next, the We Collectors. We have approached a number of informal waste collectors in Alex, the neighbouring township to Sandton, and we have identified and shortlisted a number of 8 potential We Collectors to fill the spot of 2 that we need for our pilot. In addition to this, the bikes. Kubeka, the NPO that works very closely with the Tour de France, has agreed to donate 2 bikes towards our cause for the pilot and has agreed to upscale with us in the future. In addition to this, an engineering student by the name of Peter Frost has helped us to develop this bike that you see over here with carrying capacity for the drivers. We have approached a company by the name of Alex Industrials, who said they'd build this for us, and we've obtained a quote from them. The route. We've identified a recycling centre by the name of Remade Recycling, which is 3.5 kilometers away from Investec's head office in Sandton, and we have agreed to partner with it going forward. In terms of a long-term plan, we essentially want to become a subscription-based service, whereby we collect waste on a weekly basis from corporates. They pay us monthly, and we give them quarterly reports. In these quarterly reports, we want to be able to provide key data and insights into the waste that's actually coming out of these corporates. In addition to this, a big selling point we believe is that we want to gamify this process, both externally and internally. We believe that we can create fun competition amongst corporates in Sandton and internally within departments within the businesses. But it's also important for us to determine how do we position ourselves going forward. We believe that by investing in our business and by utilizing our service, you are essentially investing in a triple bottom line approach, where we've seen the employment benefits and the environmental benefits that we have to offer. In addition to this, this of course gives benefits towards integrated reporting and sustainability reporting for these listed companies. In addition to this, we have advertising opportunities on our bikes, and we've obtained certain quotes from companies that do advertising in this space. And of course, enterprise development scores towards BBBE scores for these listed companies. But lastly, we believe that this is an opportunity for you to invest in We Collect and a great South African story.
Great idea, guys. You mentioned it's a data-driven solution for corporates. Can you just explain what you mean by that? On one side.
So this is essentially how we want to be reporting back on data of what kind of waste they're using. Right now, so when we spoke to Investec, we essentially wanted to just get them on a subscription base, and they actually led us to this data-driven approach. They said, well, we'd be willing to pay you to collect our waste, but we actually want something back from this, because there are people that are collecting waste right now in Sandton, and in return, they would like data on their waste. I think there's many benefits for this, including how much waste Investec are using, but in terms of specific waste, I think in a world where vitality is such a big aspect, and people want to know what their employees are eating, what they're using, they want that kind of data coming back to them.
So will your team be collecting that data or that measuring the waste and resources that back?
Yeah, so actually I was meant to apologize on his behalf. He's the last member of the team. He's the commissar actuarial sciences. He actually just had an interview with Joe, who didn't make it back in time. But he managed to sneak in an interview with Gift this morning, so we could get it.
Adding on to the data, when we were doing our research for this and just trying to see what comprises of corporate waste, and we noticed that the Johannesburg municipality, they have a waste report that they release every year, and even in that waste report, they outline themselves that they can't exactly get the composition of it. And with this, we feel like that gives more information to municipalities and how they go about, sorting out waste, and just more information for that.
I can see the benefit for investors if they're doing a carbon footprint, because they need to know the waste, they have to factor that into their carbon footprint calculation. So that does make sense for them.
I guess my question would be a little bit relating to, so I can see it's very compelling from a corporate point of view. I love the bicycle design and all of that. You've obviously looked at this pilot in Sandton. I guess I've got two questions. One is, where are the benefits of scale from this? Because ultimately you're going and finding individuals to do the waste collection job. You've got bikes on board. What is the sort of kind of the growth path of the business? And secondly, what is your ability to kind of retain your unique advantage versus competitors? Because it might become a bit of a Me Too thing with these. You might have the pink bikes and you guys doing the green bikes, and how do you actually lock in a business model that will actually be not be open to being chipped away by competitors?
So basically, in terms of the long-term plan, Jeff has got a very significant personality and persona, and he's often like he's got a good ability in getting into corporate doors and getting into speaking to the various corporates. Our plan is basically from the pilot phase we're looking to do, based on 3-month phases onwards, we'll be getting an additional corporate on, another 2 weekend lectures on the informal bikes, and then scaling up from there, basically just maintaining the business-to-business model within corporates and Santam and that economic hub. On top of that, so we're looking at obviously dominating Santam as a corporate hub. There's various schools in the surrounding areas that we've also looked at. We reached out to, unfortunately didn't get back from. But we're mindful that this kind of a model needs like a hubbing strategy. So we wouldn't be able to run something out of Santam that would service the whole country. We would essentially hubs around the country. And then I think in terms of maintaining a competitive advantage, I think where we believe we'll be able to maintain this competitive advantage is obviously with the data-driven. We know that there's nothing stopping anyone coming to collect your waste, but this data-driven approach and essentially being a plug-in for corporates to report and their integrated reports and more sustainable manner.
As part of the pilot, have you tried to obtain the buy-in from the informal traders?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I could actually answer that. So, in building our strategy, we're actually very cognizant of the fact that we need to understand the sociology of the informal traders, because it's easy for us at a high level to just set a strategy and be like, okay, we're going to use these guys. So I think there was actually a slide up where we actually went out into the community, not into the community, to where they're centered, and asked them, okay, would you guys be interested if this is what we're offering and this is what's on the table? Would you guys be actually interested for working for us, and does that actually make sense? And from that, we actually used the example, for example, from the My City case in Cape Town, where My City wanted to operate and ban taxis essentially. But there was a problem there because you were taking away the autonomy of the taxi driver because he's got all these street on the road. You can't challenge a taxi driver when he's on the road. You'd be like, what are you trying to do? So that's really what we try to understand and really engage them there. That's actually where the sustainability, some of it actually comes from, because we're really driven by uplifting. Because I think although we're pushing data and all that kind of stuff, it's really the focus on the people that we're actually uplifting and actually including them into the business model so that they're also, like a better term, eating from everything that we're doing.
Yeah, that's very important in South Africa, where we have a culture of unrest all the time. It's something stakeholders need to be consulted, but we need to get to reality.
Something else that we were also considering, we didn't mention it in the slides because we feel like it's a long-term perspective, is that we wanted to kind of complete the cycle, so we don't feel like leaving the waste at the waste collection centres enough. We want to complete the cycle. And in saying that, so essentially Love is the holding company. This is the new venture we collect. He currently has a business whereby they recycle billboards and produce bags out of them. He has about 5 ladies that are making bags out of billboards. And we want to see going forward what kind of material we're getting, because obviously as of now we don't know what kind of material we're getting, what kind of products we can then produce to then sell back to corporates.
Okay, sorted. Any questions from the crowd? Yes.
I just wanted to ask, in terms of your pricing strategy, how do you guys kind of charge based on the so basically, what we did in our research for getting our pricing was we went to the recycling companies and we asked them how much they charge per item of waste. And because we don't have all the data right now, we just used standard costing in getting these figures. And basically what we did is we, if you want the exact numbers, within the reports we had about 60% of like our recyclable waste was paper, and the other 40% was plastic. And basically based on those assumptions and how much each corporate, how much each bike can hold. We got these numbers. And this is what we would expect as a business. Any amount above the recycling center proceeds are going to go to the cyclists themselves, because we feel like with this model, we're fine with our profits and we're trying to uplift them as well.
Just one question. You obviously, in terms of scalability, want to get into that 40 billion market you're talking about, that 90% recycling waste. Is that 90% of unrecycled, recyclable waste is coming from retail customers, so customers who are buying products and probably not recycling at home. Ultimately, how are you getting into that space by going to a corporate investor, where are they necessarily contributing to a massive chunk of that 40 billion that you want to get access to? And how do you scale past corporates into? So ultimately, that market you want to get into, once you're recycling, you want to scale up in that space. Are corporates, corporate buildings and people in those buildings necessarily contributing to a massive portion of that? If you just focus on corporates, is that necessarily going to help scale the product?
So I think the focus on corporates is mainly so what we try to do when we're building our business models, we're trying to see how we can get every element of the process correct. So we're trying to employ people from Alex, which is nearby, and we looked to households, and we were like, they probably produce very different type of waste, but is that waste, so there's safety concerns. We don't want these people to be handling biohazardous waste, without the proper training. And the factors that went into that. How can we get these guys employment? We look at corporates. Corporates are someone that you can make a deal with. They investors were very happy to allow us to get. Well, they wanted the information on their waste, and we feel like that's a deal that benefits both sides. They get more information, and we can start to get guys employed. So we weren't necessarily looking at tackling this 40 billion market just so that we can be greedy. We're trying to get everyone in the process and get everyone, look at every single stakeholder and see how we can benefit them. So that's how we get about that.
And just to add on to that as well, we've been looking into Joburg, into the households and into significant retailers as well, but our initial thoughts were just approach the corporates, see if this process works, see if this whole business model works, and also with the goal of selling the data back to them, which is their main value that they derive from this whole business. And then also with the households, we did research Pick It Up, and Pick It Up deals with almost 99% of waste in Joburg, and they have been encouraged in the past 2 years by the government to get involved with SMMEs, which we would be a potential partnership for them. So it is an option for us to go into the future, and there is no one else currently involved. The only other competition with us is the Pick It Up in itself and the recycling centers that go into their own collection process.
Is that proceeds from the recycling center or from investment?
No, so this is from the recycling center. So
in the pilot, it's not actually paying us.
Yeah, we're not
Factoring that into.
Yeah, we're not factoring that in just yet.
Okay, once again, thank you to all the groups that presented. Just another round of applause for them. Presentations are now done. We're going to take a 3-minute break just to stand up and refresh and just stretch your legs, and we'll get into the guest lecture or the guest judge presentation. I'm still in school mode. And the judges are now going to take time to discuss the winning group, and that group will be announced at the end of the guest judge presentation. So, yeah, thank you so much.
Surprised by
Yeah, sorry, if you want to take a seat, please. Okay, so it's time to introduce the guest lecturer now. So Andrew Baxter, Dr. Andrew Baxter, mind you, spent 11 years at UCT, finally graduating with a PhD in environmental science in 1996. By his own admission, he was a rotten undergrad student and failed his first year. Nevertheless, he persevered and found a subject that he enjoyed very much. He went on to establish a leading outdoor and sportswear clothing brand that won many awards for innovation and social responsibility, eventually employing around 300 people. And he did ask me to mention that he started this business in his garage in an old Nissan Bakkie. So yeah, that's very cool. And the name of that company is Cape Store, by the way, and he actually sold it to a JSC listed company called Hold Sports. After an existential crisis on the banks of the Po River in China, when he realized how his business was contributing to global pollution and overconsumption, he decided to dedicate himself to saving the planet and joined WWF, the world's most respected environmental NGO. Today, Andrew is a professional speaker, mentor, business coach, and environmental advocate. He has a passion for archaeology, ancient ancestry, and meditating in caves. And he strives to be happy. So, big round of applause for Dr. Andrew.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction.
Dear graduate students, magical millennials, future leaders, planet savers, custodians of all humanity, and ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It's a great honor for me to be here tonight. I must tell you, I have a long affiliation with UCT Martin Barton, and I always love coming back in some form. So thank you. And I think everyone here, your peers and my new, and I'm sorry that the others are here, it's common, but everyone that has been here tonight will agree with me that the caliber of presentations that was heard tonight is absolutely outstanding. And it gives me tremendous hope for the future. So I think the slide up on the screen here is really symbolic of the place that you are all at now as graduate students about to leave academia and set off into the real world. It says the outside world, it's the real world. Which path are you going to choose? Are you going to swipe left or are you going to swipe right? Are you all laughing? So yeah, and I think this is a critical time in your lives. And I was going to do a presentation tonight around my journey through this whole sustainability arena that you are now familiar with. But actually, when I was contemplating this and telling my own children a story the other night, I decided to change tack completely. So I'm going to go a little bit off script, and she's looking a bit nervous. She's sitting up here. But I'm going to tell you something much more, I think, much more fun. So I did a little bit of research on millennials. Do you mind if I call you that? You okay? Because I'm never sure whether that's PC or not. But I think you all are millennials. You understood when I said swipe left and swipe right. So work with me on this. So I did a little bit of research on you lot. And this is what came up. So this is World Economics Forum's basic toolkit of things that they believe young people are going to need to have in their toolbox. And it's exactly what Ali was saying earlier. The top skills that you require. 2015, 2020 assume that we're sort of going in that direction. Isn't it fascinating to see that things like critical thinking and creativity are bubbling up to the top of that list? And we're getting things like emotional intelligence and cognitive flexibility. What is that? But these are soft social skills that have never ever been on the repertoire of work requirements of young people in the past. This is profound and significant and wonderful. Because when I look at this list and reflect back on what I've heard from you earlier today in presentations, I'm deeply encouraged that you guys are well on your way and well prepared in terms of these things that you're going to do. And it gives me great hope as an older person who's contributed to many of the problems in the world that you're going to find the solution to fix them. I then try to understand and unpack what people your age, your peers and colleagues around the world consider to be the most serious problem facing the world today. And this is a bit of a global look, and it's in reverse order, so starting at the top 10 and working itself down to number 1 at the bottom. Lack of economic opportunity, safety, security. You can read through the list yourself. I was astonished to see the most important, most pressing thing millennials around the world believe today is facing the world is climate change and the destruction of nature. If you'd asked me to write this list and surmise it, I would never have assumed that it was on the list, and I was pleasantly surprised to see it. Now, obviously, in a South African context, this might be a little bit. So I tried to understand what South African millennials were considering a big problem. So in reverse order again, from most important to top. Unsurprisingly, crime is our biggest concern. That doesn't surprise me at all. But then running down the list again, the state of the environment comes at number 3. For me, another surprising realization, and one that gives me personally great hope. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing a trend towards social skills, communication, cooperation, negotiation, creativity, and all of those things in that package that we saw there don't include things like machine learning, AI, and robotics. And I think the message that is really, really important to is, although those things might be quite scary to consider, that you as a potential worker could be replaced by a robot or a machine or a computer, the fact is that you won't be. You shouldn't be nervous about that at all. It's human spirit, this human nature, this creativity that I think is going to drive your opportunities forward. So, given that climate change has come up and environmental change has come up as something which is very topical and focal, and something which is obviously very close to my own heart. I've spent half a lifetime studying this stuff. You know, this is enormously endearing. Just to give you an indication of how personally I take this, I was fiddling around with a hypothetical model of what would happen if sea level were to rise rapidly around the Cape. Rise rapidly around the world, but what would the implication be for Cape Town? And so I pulled up a little program that allows you to simulate what would happen if sea level was to increase by, say, 20 meters. Now, according to current models, if we continue to keep the planet the way we are and to burn off as much carbon and greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, then within a period of about 500 years, the Cape Peninsula will become an island. The sea will flood back across the peninsula, so here you are. We're sitting sort of somewhere up there, and this will become a sea. Okay, now that's in 500 years' time. The last time this happened was 1.5 million years ago. And we're looking at the potential for rapid climate change and rapid sea level rise that is likely to be in the order of 1 to 2 magnitudes greater than it has ever been before. This is catastrophic stuff. Can you imagine low-lying cities around the world? Absolutely inundated. A third of the world's population will be evacuated, will have to flee. And this is real stuff that's likely to happen. So the kind of work that you're doing in terms of presenting ideas that have much better positive contribution to the environment, to things like climate change, is enormously important. But enough of this doom and gloom. It's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to tell you about something which I believe you'll find much more important, much more fundamental, and much more important for your well-being. And this is a story that I told to my children recently. And they said to me, Dad, I think you've got to tell the story again. So this is where I go a little bit off script. And this story is about chemistry, statistics, and the improbability of happiness. And at this point, I'd like that any of you in the room that has studied first year statistics to just kind of raise your hand. So anyone done stats? Has anyone done stats to third year?
Yes.
Okay, I'm immediately terrified. Has anyone studied chemistry? Good. That's already good. Okay, so bear with me. The story starts like this. In 1985, I registered for BSc degree at UCT. And I wanted to be a marine biologist. I thought that would be really cool. Swim with the dolphins, etc., etc. Except when I got there, they said you've got to do a couple of other undergraduate degrees in order to finally become a marine biologist. And you've got to do maths, you've got to do stats, you've got to do chemistry, and all sorts of other half-year credits that you had to obtain in order to go through a major. And it was a shambles. I hated maths. I was worse at stats. Chemistry was a complete and utter nightmare. And I was distracted as well, to be honest. And so at the end of my first year, I failed those 3 subjects, maths, stats, and chemistry. And I was failing the year. Mercifully, I got a supplementary exam for one of them, maths, which I fortunately passed. But I failed the chemistry and statistics. And as a consequence, my dream of being a marine biologist was suddenly swept out of the window, and I was unable to continue other than registering again for first year. My poor mother said to me, no more money, so I was to fund my future university career from that point on. And start first year again. Massively humiliating. I was the first of my family ever to go to university. I failed my first year. It was almost unthinkable. But there I was. And so in my second attempt at first year, I decided to follow something that I was far more interested in. I discovered 2 subjects. One was archaeology, and the other was environmental science. It seemed to be a lot more interesting to me than the subjects that I'd been forced to study the year before. So off I went. And it was a lot easier for me as I went on in my second and third year. But I mean, I do reflect back that and this is sort of, I'm going off a little off on a tangent here, because Had first year stats been super practical, I think I might have enjoyed it. I'm deviating a little bit off scripture again, but this was a picture that Tinder data might send. and she said to me, Andrew, if you're in the red, you're right. And I didn't know what she was talking about. But if first year stats had been a practical example like this, it would have made a lot more sense to me as an undergraduate student. Of course, I was able to respond to it and said, I'm at least 20% not ready. And immediately that was the conversation. But that to me would have been a sort of practical application of statistics. Chemistry, well, I quite like the practical work because you could do all sorts of interesting things with chemicals, make fumes and explosions and things. But the stuff on the wall at the background, that stuff, I just could not wrap my head around. And so I was glad to be rid of both of these subjects. Absolutely delighted not to have to encounter them again. So I went through my university career. I eventually graduated with a BSc. I did an honours degree. I liked what I was doing. And I was eventually approached to do a master's degree. I was offered an opportunity to do a master's degree. And I loved what I was doing. It wasn't a difficult decision. So I followed. And it wasn't long before I was immersing myself into my passion, which was the outdoors. It was into caves, it was into finding archaeological discoveries and samples, collecting soil samples and analyzing them, all sorts of wondrous things. And of course, you find interesting things like this, toolkits from people who lived hundreds of thousands of years ago. I'm not sure if any of you have been aware of this incredible piece of artwork discovered a couple of years ago up the coast of Longbour's Cave by UCT graduate Chris Henschel work, who's now world famous. And this is regarded as the oldest piece of art ever discovered in the world, staged about 70,000 years ago. And you can clearly see that there's beautiful cross-hatching on here. Make up what you will, but it apparently is a piece of artwork. It's massively significant, and it comes from South Africa. And it's indicative of cognitive thinking. We were talking about that earlier. So here's the process whereby somebody consciously made a piece of art, and then they started burying their dead in the ground with grave goods, etc., etc. So the cradle of this cognitive thought process is believed to have come from, certainly from Africa, but possibly from Southern Africa. So what a wonderful place to be playing, far removed from statistics and chemistry. In 1989, 1990, I was introduced to this cave, and it didn't take me long to scurry in there. And right in the back of this particular cave are these deep sediments, soil samples. Incidentally, this is just above UCT. I can't tell you exactly where, but it is profoundly important. And people used to live in this cave around about 70,000 years ago as well, so very, very significant. But my job was to dig a hole and collect soil samples from this deposit, and then to try and interpret them. And use them to reconstruct what the environments looked like 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago, and so on. And by piecing together all the evidence that I could find in the soil samples, fossilized pollens, and all sorts of bits and pieces, you could reconstruct what the environment is doing at different times in the past. At times when the climate was naturally changing. So it's a bit like someone gives you a 1,000-piece puzzle, but then they remove 900 pieces, leaving only 100, and then they scramble those, and then they sort of throw them out in a big field and tell you to go and find them, and to build the picture based on those 100 pieces that you might or might not find. So it's a sort of a detective story, and I love this kind of stuff. So off I went and did all my research. But what I was really trying to find were these things, and these are fossilized pollen grains. You might consider them to be delicate and things that would break down immediately. In fact, under the right conditions in the ground, they're preserved forever. They're almost sort of nuclear resistant. The inside bits dissipate, but the shell remains behind. Each of those different pollen grains comes from a different type of plant. And therefore, by analyzing them and counting them, you can determine what the vegetation has been doing in the past. Were the trees, were the grasses, was it wet, was it cold, was it warm? And so they're a wonderful indicator of what the past is like. And so my objective is to try and find these things in the soil samples. So having done an extensive collection all over the Western Cape, in caves, in wet sediments, and all sorts of different areas. And having collected hundreds of samples, I sat down with my supervisor and I said, well, how do I get the pollen out? And he said, you just follow the chemical recipe. He was at that point, chemical recipe. He said, well, you've done chemistry, so it's a textbook here, you are. Just follow the recipe. How difficult can it be? So I immediately took us with a leave of absence, a self. I think I took a month while I contemplated this. Anyway, Ravi then came back and was introduced to the new lab. So I was the first postgraduate student to step into the new lab where there was state-of-the-art equipment and every machine under the sun. I was given the key and said, off you go, Baxter. And I opened the formulas, 174 steps. Basically what you would do is you're going to take a big, like a kilogram of sand, and you've got to apply chemistry to this. And so that all that is left after 174 steps are the polymers. Everything else has got to go. You've got to try and melt sand. You've got to make it vaporize by adding and subtracting and centrifuging and pouring. Someone said sulfuric acid earlier, one of the groups I nearly had a heart attack. But there was stuff in the chemical code here that it was like you had to put on a suit and a respirator to go inside. There was a skull with crossbones on it. It said concentrated HF only for super duper, advanced use. And I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, this was just a disaster for me. Having not even gone to my chemistry crack 7 years ago. So this thing really come back to one. It wasn't long before these beautiful white surfaces in the lab were burned and stained. It's an 18-foot ceiling. Somehow I managed to get my samples splattered all over the ceiling. The centrifuge that spun around at 10,000 RPM, every test tube was broken. I couldn't do anything right. I was simultaneously terrified and ham-fisted at this process. To the point that I think the head of the department used to come to me and say, consumable bullets, no getting out of hand. And I remember the rep coming from the test tube thing and saying, how do you manage to break these things? Because they're made in Germany, and look, and you throw them on the ground and they wouldn't break, and you stand on them and they wouldn't break, but I could break. At around about this time, another student joined the lab, a younger student doing an honors degree. I noticed that he was very handy at that. I introduced him and told him what to do, like I knew what I was going to do. But I observed him over a period of weeks, and he just seemed calm. He just seemed to make things happen. Essentially, he never made it, just whirred around like a German machine. And before long, he was saying to me, Andrew, come and look down the microscope and tell me what you see. And I was seeing things that I'd never seen under my microscope. That's what I was seeing when I looked down. After 174 steps and 3 months of processing, I saw nothing. And yet, conversely, when I looked under this microscope, I see beautiful polymers. So I took another one of those self-help days. I went off and sat in my cave, and I came back and I thought to myself, well, what am I going to do? And I called this fellow, it's just, for want of a better word, called him Neo. I chose that name because it's like neon, and that's on the periodic table. So we'll just call him Neo. And I said, he was a studious guy. He worked late at night, he was always there, and he loved being there. I said, Neo, what's this with chemistry? And he said, well, I'm a chemistry major. That's what I do. I love chemistry. I said, well, I've taken note of the fact that you're quite handy, and I've got a proposition for you. If you're prepared to do my samples, I'm prepared to do your field. And he looked at me with that kind of like relief, because I'd worked out that Leo wasn't so keen on the field. He was neat and tidy, he wore a white lab coat, he never had any dirt on it, and he was just uncomfortable in the field. He didn't like to get dirt under his finger. So this was suddenly a match made in heaven. And we came to this test to understand it called the circular economy. He would look at doing processing my samples, and I would use them. And it was a wonderful match made in heaven. Suddenly it dawned on me that a solution had come my way. And from that point onwards, chemistry was once again shoved into the back of the repository. I didn't have to worry about it. Life became good once again. For the next 2 years, life went swimmingly for me. All my samples got processed. I did all the counting, and I collected massive amounts of data. So my supervisor came to me one day and he said, "It was stuff. It's stop. Just stop. Just stop collecting samples. Write it up. Analyze the data, and write it up." I said, "What do you mean by analyze the data?" He said, "Well, you've done stats. It's a simple case. You get together and you put the numbers together. You run some multivariate analysis and statistics and nearest neighbor indices. And, you get some. You do what's in the textbook. You've got to do it." Well, I took another day off and went back to my cave and pondered on what I should do. And I mean, I must tell you that the chemistry was one. The stats was just terrifying. It was just like I did, and I really genuinely didn't have a clue what to do. I remembered about Neo. Of course, Neo had left by this time. I thought, well, maybe I should phone Neo and find out what he did with the stats. But he was long gone. So, what's next best? And next best was to walk down bravely and boldly to the Department of Statistics and go to the department secretary and ask her who the cleverest person in the department was. And I did that. And she said, "Well, it's Professor," I'm not going to repeat his name, but let's just say he was fairly smart. And I went down and I said to the professor, I said, he said, "I made an appointment, obviously, you can't just walk in." I said, "Could I see him?" She made an appointment. Went in and he looked at me quizzically, he said, "I always remember a face." I've never met. Of course, he was my first year lecturer. But I sat down and I said, "Look, I genuinely have got this problem, I don't know what to do." He said, "Well, maybe we should teach you." And I just panicked. I just thought, I can't leave. I've got this moment. I've got 20 seconds of this man's time and I don't want to lose it. So I said, "Prof, I wouldn't have come to you if I didn't think you would." I said, "You've got to understand this. I honestly believe I've got a statistical problem that no man has ever." I said, "Because I've got data that runs like this, I've got data that runs like this, I've got data that runs like this, and I've got data, I believe it's in the fourth dimension." I said, "I'm not even sure that there's a statistical technique that can solve my problem." He looked at me quizzically and said, "Thanks, tricky." I said, "No problem. If you don't help me, I am." So he said, "Yeah." He's heard that kind of story before. He said, "Look, I've got nothing better to do with my weekend and my life, so why don't you just leave your data with me for a bit, he sort of looked at it. Just leave your data for me, and I'll have a look." In those days, our data came on. It looked like an LP because a floppy disk was, you won't know what I'm talking about, but it's like a massive thing, and I sort of slid it over the table and said, "Look after it. It's the only copy." And off I went. And anyway, we made this plan. The next Friday I'd go and see him. So I was back there. And he said, "Baxter, good to see you." He said, "I've been looking at your data." He says, "Yeah, interesting, puzzling, and interesting. And I've been running this and that. And how familiar are you with nearest neighbor indices?" And I said, "Well, my neighbor, she's quite hot." No, just go away, come back next Friday. And so it went on for about a month or two. I check in every Friday with him, and he was getting more and more animated. He eventually said to me, he said, "Look, I've run your data for you. It's your job as a PhD student to actually go and interpret it. My job is just to put it together for you." I had a lot of fun. He said, "But you didn't come in the first time. He said, just tell me that bullshit story about there isn't a statistical technique that could resolve your stats." And I said, "Yes, I'm sorry, Prof." He said, "Well, that makes it curious." He said, "Actually, I think you might be right." He says, "I've produced a little paper. I'll be submitting it to the Journal of Statistics, a little commentary paper on a new technique." He said, "No, I put your name on the paper." You failed first year stats. Anyway, so the point about all this is that at the end of all of this, despite the nightmare of chemistry and statistics, I absolutely produced what I believe was a glowing piece of paleoecological work. I had great fun, and I loved what I did. There were certain certain elements of what I was required to do that I really didn't like doing. I had no aptitude for it, I had no inclination, and I didn't have the understanding, but the rest of it was fine. And at the end of the day, I was managed to submit a PhD and demonstrate that most of the work in it had been mine, and there was happiness all around. So, you know, what is the lesson from this story that I told my children that they found so amusing? And the lesson is really quite a simple one. It comes down to recognizing that in life, you cannot possibly be good at everything. There are just going to be things that you're going to suck at. There are going to be things that you're faced with in the real world that you don't like to do, that you don't want to do, and that you're not good at. And my advice to you, I've seen this for 20 years in corporate, is that so many people get sucked into doing a job that they don't like. And they're not good at it. They detest it. And so my lasting piece of advice is to say to you, don't do it. Pay somebody else. So when I started my business, I realized I wasn't great at accounting. I employed an accountant and didn't have to worry about it. Choose to do the things that make you happy. Choose to do the things that make you happy. Try to avoid the things that you dislike and don't make you. It's the best advice I can give any young person. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Andrew Baxter. Very inspiring talk. So next up, we're just going to wait for the judges to come in and present the winning group. And next up, we'll present the winning group, and then we'll do drink and snacks after that. So yeah, just wait patiently for the next group.
Alright, next. I'm going to use this slide. So, evening to you all. It's really great to see all of you guys here today. And yeah, I just wanted to end this off with saying thank yous. It's been an amazing year with all of you, and it's been such an honor to work for you actually, because you guys are my boss. you pay my salary. So thank you to all of you, firstly the students, for firstly coming here and participating on this course. It's always nerve-wracking doing a course like this and not knowing if people are going to take it seriously. The first assignment, 75 Rand, always shakes people up. They're like, we've never done this before. We don't know what we're doing. And to see you guys all here standing, talking about how you're going to price your things and what your competitive, I was just like, this is amazing. So really, really well done to you. So I want to... And then secondly, I just want to say a huge thank you to the Strat tutors and mentors. I actually don't know how to put my gratefulness to all of you in words. You know, working with such a dedicated team who look beyond their hours of when they're supposed to do things is such a pleasure. And it's been so amazing watching you from interview stage of being like, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm so nervous, I'm not great at this, to being at the point now where you're so much more confident in your own knowledge and in what you have to bring. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. The hard because a lot of them are looking for jobs now. So I'm always saying, I wish I could just start an organization right now, hire all of you. But I don't have money right now. But yes, please. Set up a building. I've got employees. Yeah, so thank you so much to all of you. It's been amazing. Actually, going to miss you. Who else do I have to thank? Mazars. Thank you. Every year, it's just such an honor. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's always such an honor working with you all. And we actually have some little tokens of appreciation. So Annie, if you can come forward and help me in thanking the team. So Jonathan, this is I think the second year that we're working. This is the second year that we're working together. And it's just so great the warm welcome you always give to us and the hard work that goes into this is such a pleasure. And yeah, having all the consultants marking on this is so amazing, and the participation and the relationship that we've built over the years has been amazing. So we just want to give you a gift as a token of our appreciation. Thank Okay. So we have something for Isha. She has been helping us with all our administration, as you all know. An event like this takes a lot of organization and planning and all of that. So this is for her. Will be taken.
Okay, I will do. Thank you.
Okay.
I just want to say a few thank you. Firstly, to our foxes, thanks for coming. Thanks for spending this time with us. To the UCT team, and again, thanks for all your help. And I think we are really a great team. I think this is our 9th year with this initiative. It's going strong. We're changing it every year, and it's really great. And then last but not least, you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be sitting here. There would be no Fox's Den. Yeah, so just a big thank you to all you guys, and I wish you all the best in the future. I know you're writing exams soon, so thanks for coming. Yeah, thank you.
So next, I'd like to thank our guest lecturer, speaker, inspirer, Dr. Andrew Baxter. Thank you so much for coming. And then, okay. Last but not least, I'd really like to thank our wonderful boxers for joining us tonight. I think Annie mentioned in the beginning that you are such busy women and amazing women in your own rights. And we'd like to thank you for your time coming here today to listen to our ideas and also just being the people that you are in industry, for taking us seriously and seeing the potential that we have. We really, really appreciate that, and that our voices can be heard by people like you. It's just so amazing. So we have some gifts for you that we'd like to present. Thank you so much for Portia. And Jessica, thank you. So the last two people I want to thank that are looking at me trying to remind me what's going on. Alison Meadows and Rowan, I'd like to thank you both. Firstly, I'd like to thank Annie for being the best boss ever. And then secondly, I want to thank Rowan for hiring me. Thank you. So I sat in Rowan's office, and every single day for about 4 weeks I was going, Rowan, I still don't know what I'm doing. And he really, really believed in me, and for me to be able to stand here confident and feeling like I know what's happening in this course and I'm able to go out into the real world is such an honor. So thank you. All right. So we're going to have the announcement of the winners. I'm sure it was a very tough decision to make, so I'm not sure who's going to come. Okay, just a second. Well done.
So I share something with the illustrious Annie Meadows, which is the vestiges of an old-fashioned English accent, as you may suppose, but I have actually been in South Africa since 1995. So, but before, I know you're desperate to hear the answer, okay, but before we get there, I'm just going to tell you a bit of a funny story. I spent, it is pertinent, okay. I spent about 5 years in London in the sort of, I won't tell you when because you'll immediately give my age away, but as a partner in a private equity fund. And we were investing, it was a very sort of heyday, hectic times, lots of exciting opportunities coming through. And at one point, this chubby cheek chap came through and had a compelling business plan. He was American. His name happened to be Michael Dell. And he was looking for his second round of funding in London with the investment community. And I took him on board and I kind of spent time understanding his business model and how he was disintermediating the bar channel and all this kind of thing. And I thought, this sounds great. So I put it together, spent a lot of time putting together a lot of motivation. And I'm telling you this because I know you guys all have put a huge amount of effort into your plans and you all want them to be successful. Okay? And so did he. And so I put this motivation together, and when I went to the investment committee, they were like, don't tell me that this upstart American is actually going to change the way we buy computers. You know, these change established, they add value, they provide services, etc. So I got turned down for the second round of Michael Dell's Dell Computing funding, which
which turned out to be a big fail actually, because if we made the investment, we would have made about 20, 30 times our money. So what I'm saying to you is, for those of you who aren't the winners this evening, this is not a no forever. This is a no for now, but there may well be opportunities, and so keep fighting your passions, because I think you've done such an amazing job. We were all so impressed with the quality of the presentations. It was a very hard conversation. Having said that, I know you're dying to hear who was chosen. And I think the key things we were really looking for were sort of a vision of an intellectual, an idea and a business model that was defensible against the competition. So something that would actually allow you to create some sort of unique proposition in the market, underpinned with some sort of intellectual property or capability that would be hard to replicate. We were looking for something that was definitely true to the whole ethos around creating a genuine benefit in terms of the triple P dynamics and the sustainability and contribution to our future as a planet, which you guys are all in charge of that. So you've got that on your shoulders. And then obviously there was an element of how the team kind of then pulled it all together and created a compelling story. And so our winners, tough discussion, but our winners are Sigacycle. Sorry? Okay, perfect. Yes, I'm not sure. I was just going to say, I don't know what happens.
It's a big check,
Paperless.
Okay, well done, Sigacycle. That brings us to the close. Just before we end, just one more thank you to give, and that's to Den UCT, our head tutor, teaching assistant for this year. Was the lecturer even? I think what makes our team so great is having a leadership steer us. It's been such a wonderful year working with a great team, first of all, but having Kutle be there and not only be a friend, but a great advisor at times. And to walk into our office every day and know that she's there and always willing to talk to us with that big smile on her face. I'm sure the students can also relate. It's a really, really, really wonderful thing. And I just want to say I'm really, really grateful for everything that you've done. And on behalf of the mentor and the team, I really want to thank you for everything that you've done and for bringing us together and bringing us closer. So just a quick round of applause. Tutor and mentor applications are still open. So please do apply. It's a really wonderful experience. Marks are not a factor. You do not need to be a top student. What you need to show is encouragement and just a real interest in not only strategic thinking, but being an open-minded thinker. So please do apply if you are genuinely interested. It's a wonderful experience. You become so much more closer to not only the students in the course, but also the tutors and mentors that you get to work with. So yeah, please do apply for that. And I think you're tired of hearing my voice, so please join us in the auditorium for drinks and snacks. And thank you so much for coming.
See.